Welcome to our podcast episode, the second episode that we're helming in Center for Afghanistan Studies. Today we have a very special guest. Our guest is Mr. Sushant Sareen. He's a senior fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. He's a critically acclaimed researcher on South Asia, widely recognized for his work on Pakistan and India-Pakistan relations, and the author of the Jihad Factory. His insights are valued by various media channels, policymakers, and everyone. So the Center for Afghanistan Studies mission is to generate informed analysis at a time when Afghanistan continues to shape the geopolitics of South Asia. Welcome everybody. Sir, hello, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Yes.
Thanks.
So we're beginning off with a bigger picture. So many assume that Afghanistan became less central after Taliban's entrance and after Taliban's return. But in 2025, how does Afghanistan still matter for India's security and foreign policy? It still shapes convos around geopolitics, security, foreign policy. So if you could just shed some light on that.
Yeah, look, I think Afghanistan has been important for India since time immemorial. Like, it's not new. Yes, there would be times when you lose interest, and you lose interest in Afghanistan only at your own peril, because what happens in Afghanistan does not stay in Afghanistan. And in a manner of speaking, Afghanistan is the nucleus of instability, and that instability spreads throughout the region. And it invariably impacts on India's own security. So, willy-nilly, India will have to deal with Afghanistan. We will have to have expertise and interest in Afghanistan. We will have to be present in Afghanistan in one form or another. And we will have to deal with whoever is in power in Afghanistan. And I would even go to the extent of saying we will have to deal with people who are not in power in Afghanistan, right? And we have to do it for no other reason because it's critical to our own security interests. It's critical for our own well-being. And if we ignore Afghanistan, like I said, we do it at our own peril.
Very true. So Afghanistan is still very imperative for the geopolitics of South Asia. Moving on from this question, I think history often gives us clues about the current world. And I think in 2016, Ashraf Ghani's visit and his outreach to India was a turning point at that point. So looking back, what lessons should India have drawn from that period of its engagement, and how can it use those lessons in today's security and foreign policy?
Look, the problem at that point of time was that while we were dealing with the then Afghan government, the Afghan Republic, the fact of the matter is, and we had also a lot of access in that country at that point of time, but we were not top dogs. It was the Americans who were the top dogs. They were the guys who were calling the shots. They were the people who would decide what policy would happen. They were the ones who would decide what would happen in an election, which were even not elections. Those elections were very shabbily handled. They were scandalous, actually. So we were players, but we were not the main players. So there was a limit to what we could do. The Afghan government at that point of time wanted a lot of stuff from us, which either we were not in a position to give, or we were reluctant to give, or the top dogs in Afghanistan did not want us to play a certain role, because they thought that if we were to get very close to the Afghan government and we were to play a very active role, then the Pakistanis would take it amiss and the Pakistani mischief would increase. Now, the problem was that it was not as though the Pakistani mischief did not increase anyway. Despite keeping us out, the Pakistanis continued to do mischief in Afghanistan and were responsible for the demise of that particular regime. So I think one of the lessons in Afghanistan has been that don't have any starry-eyed notions. If you're going into Afghanistan, go in with a specific purpose. Go in with the objective of trying to protect your own interests, rather than this whole business of trying to promote or trying to reform Afghan society. Afghan society will take care of itself. I don't think we should be in the business of making prescriptions to what Afghans should or should not do unless they ask us. This unsolicited advice which many countries tend to give to other countries, I think needs to stop. Let the Afghans have their own agency in deciding what they want to do and what they don't want to do. We should deal with what is there. And I think that is one of the lessons which we should have learned. I hope we have learned it. I don't know. Time will tell whether we learned the right lessons or the wrong ones.
Yes. I think that was very beautifully put about Afghans' autonomy, that we should respect them and we should come with respective
Look,
interests.
the thing is, I don't have to like something.
Yes.
Right? I don't have to like how the Afghan society works. But that is the Afghan society. That is for the Afghans to decide how they're going to run their society. It's not for me to decide. I might not like it. And because I engage with the Afghans does not mean I endorse everything that the Afghans do. These are two completely different things. I recognize them, but I don't necessarily endorse them. So I think that we need to be clear on that. Very often we tend to muddle up these things that if I don't like somebody, I'm not going to deal with it. It doesn't work that way.
Yes. I think that was very beautifully put. Yes. Moving on, there are limitations. But I think India has multiple options when it comes to Afghanistan. Like if you look at the practical options, we've invested in water energy, water projects, soft power, security aid, the port as well, we've invested. So which instruments should India prioritize primarily? And is countering Pakistan the central goal, or is it just a byproduct of supporting Afghanistan?
I think it's a byproduct.
Oh.
It's a byproduct, but I think what India has always done in Afghanistan, which is the right thing to do, unlike the West, which went and started sponsoring projects in Afghanistan, which the West wanted to sponsor. The Indians always gave the Afghans or let the Afghans decide the priority of what are the projects they wanted India to back. So all the projects that India backed were prioritized by the Afghans. So whether it was a water project or it was electricity or it was some roads, hospitals, etc., these were projects that the Afghans wanted, and we said we'll back it. And I think that was the secret sauce behind why India was always perceived as a friend in Afghanistan, not as an enemy. Secondly, I think it did give us certain leverages in Afghanistan, which were very useful for us in countering the pernicious influence of Pakistan in Afghanistan. But that was not the primary objective. The primary objective was that, look, we'll handle Pakistan. But if Afghanistan gets destabilized, that instability in Afghanistan will destabilize the entire region. Pakistan, of course, will get affected, but that does not bother me or us as much as how that instability will impact on India. So we were playing the big game. We were playing the long game, which is to stabilize Afghanistan. If Afghanistan is stable, Pakistan we can handle. That's not such a big deal. But if that instability starts destabilizing the whole region, then we have a huge problem on our hands, which will be very difficult to handle. So I think that was the objective.
Thank you so much. Those were some key points that we've covered and key insights that we've covered in regards to Afghanistan. And thank you so much for joining our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much again. Thank you, everybody. We're looking forward to your next episode.